So, my name is Pritesh, and I'm the founder of Humans of Tech. And I'm super excited to invite you all to this beautiful space with Victoria today. And we are going to talk about a lot of things like technical writing, career in tech, how to get into tech without a degree, and lot other things. The people who are new to Humans of Tech, I would like to give a small introduction of what this platform is. So, this platform you'll be like you can use this platform to listen, read, or watch inspiring stories of people in tech to get inspired, obviously, but also to understand how things work in tech. We'll be inviting some amazing speakers in tech who have some amazing things, something interesting to share about their life journey, career, and that can add a lot of value to the tech community and all the listeners and readers of Humans of Tech. In a nutshell, if you are someone who is not sure about the career in tech is for you or not, or if you are someone who is lacking at some place in his or her professional career, or if you are someone like me or Victoria who is a passionate reader or listener who loves to listen to journeys and stories of people who have like, to understand how what were the struggles, what were the failures they faced, successes, and what took them to become something whatever they are right now. Okay, so we'll be putting this series of podcasts of this amazing people on our platform in different formats. So the blogs will be on the website, the audio will be on Twitter Spaces, and later on it will be on Spotify podcast, and video will be on YouTube. We already have one YouTube video, the episode one with Tapas. If you haven't checked out, you can go ahead and check out the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and also make sure you hit the bell icon to get the latest update on the blogs on the podcast that we post. I will request you guys to subscribe to our newsletter also to get latest updates on the interesting speakers that we speaker announcement that we do every week. With that, I would like to start the space for the evening. So the speaker that we have today has inspired a lot many individuals in tech in many terms. So we'll discuss what they are. Uh, so his journey is a proof of you don't need a degree to get a job in tech. So just to give you a context, she is working in one of the tech giants of the world right now, and she doesn't have a CS degree, like don't have a CS background. Uh, Along with that, she has 3 years of experience, more than 3 years of experience in technical writing, and she is like, I would say, Shah Rukh Khan or a very well-known technical writer in technical writing world. She has like more than 20K following in this technical writing platforms. If you go through her profile, you'll know. Also, she is a speaker. Recently, she was invited to Google I/O event, and with that, I would like her to give a small introduction about herself.
Okay, sure. Thanks, Pritesh. That was quite a long introduction of me. I don't know what else to add from there, but yeah. Hi everyone. Thanks for joining in. My name is Victoria. I'm a solutions engineer at PayPal. Currently, I'm also a GitHub star, a technical blogger on the side, and I'm also a volunteer at Women Who Code Singapore right now. So yeah, like what Pritesh mentioned, I came into PayPal without a CS degree, and I've been blogging for more than 3 years, almost 4 years now. So yeah, I'm happy today. Thanks, Pritesh, for inviting me. I'm happy today to share with all of you some of my journeys and what I've done so far. Yep.
Okay. So I'll start with how does a day in a Victoria's life look like? If you could just give a small.
Sure. So today, uh, I woke up early to go to the office. I reached the office around 10, and then we have meetings back to back until lunchtime. And then I went out with my coworkers for lunch. And then after that, we have more meetings until the afternoon, around 5 p.m. And then after that, I went to the gym, and and then after that, I had dinner with my friends, and then came back home to do this. So yeah, that is quite a very high level, simple day in my life. I don't know how detailed do you want me to be, but yeah, that's what I did today. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks.
Mm.
This will work. So with that, I would like to, set a benchmark of the talk that will be, going through today. So I would like you to go through your childhood. Like, if someone asks you, like, what, if, what, how does the 5 year old Victoria looks like, and what were the traits that she had when in childhood, and how you started from there to getting into business school, right? Getting that finance degree, and then you switch to tech, and then a lot of things happen later on. We'll discuss, but I want to, you to deliver that part of your life.
Okay, so from 5 years old until now, that would be a really long story. I I will just say that when I was 5 years old, I was learning three languages at once: English, Indonesian, as well as Chinese. So from a very young age, I'm exposed to the fact that the more you learn, the more uh, more knowledgeable you are, and the more you can discern patterns among different types of languages and just picking up skills quickly. um, I think when I was in my early days of childhood, like primary school, I am often described as quite a quiet kid who likes to read books alone. So I've always been fascinated with just the idea of building things, and I would read books on just mainly sure, I would read a lot of fictional books, but I also like to read books on like architecture and like how to build things. I'm particularly I was in an era where internet is not that accessible, so I like to spend my free time building things. I would take like old shoe boxes and I would like design houses, like doll houses, uh, and all that. So I've always liked to build things. Of course, at the time, I didn't know anything about coding or like what is exactly programming even. uh, but I guess around the time when I was 15, and then my family, we moved to Canada, that's when I took my first introduction to computer science course. And I at the time I didn't know anything about what is computer science. It just sounds like a scientific course, so I took it because mainly there was no other electives left for me to choose, but also because I am quite interested in science in general. I'm quite a scientific math kind of kid. So I decided to take that as an elective. And when I first started learning computer science and just programming in general, my first language was Visual Basic. And I really fell in love at that time. I love building my first program, my first to do app, my first quiz app. I really love doing all that. And I guess that's when the passion of building translates to code. And since then, I've kept building and learning how to build. I remember staying up late for the school assignment just to really perfect my application, even though it's not part of the requirements. I would just keep adding features into it because I was just so excited to do so. And then eventually, when I reached high school, there came a time where I have to make a decision which university I want to go to and which major. And so my parents, they're quite traditionally conservative. So they thought computer science is not really something girls would do. And they asked me to go into business for a safer option. And of course, at that time, as an 18-year-old girl, I trust my parents' opinion above anyone else. So I took their advice and go into business. And as usual, I'm always a math kind of person. So I thought among the business functions such as marketing, accounting, I thought finance was the most suitable one for me, and that's why I chose finance. And I end up becoming a finance major at my university for 4 years after that. And it was actually during around the time of my undergraduate program that I realized that I still love to code, and I would spend my weekends, if in between assignments, just programming games and like just making random mobile apps just for the fun of it. And that's when I realized, I think around the last few semesters of undergraduate, I do realize that maybe finance is not for me. And I just can't imagine submitting a resume to a finance company and say, hey, I want to be an investment banker, or I want to be a financial analysis. I just don't find it to be me, and it's not really who I am. And so before I graduated, I have already started just building more projects and learning JavaScript at the time. And by the time I graduate, I guess there was the pandemic and things going on. The world was in chaos, and that actually I took advantage of that period to actually study my foundations. So go back to my foundations. I took a lot of free code camp courses. I pretty much do every single one of their course and earn all their certifications. So I spent 300 hours on each certification, and I end up with all their 6 certifications. And that's when I really know that this is the path I want to take, and I decided to pivot. But obviously, as someone without a CS degree, I was worried that it's hard to really stand out, my resume to stand out. So that's when I also started blogging. And ever since then, I haven't stopped blogging. I've been blogging for almost 4 years now. So yeah, and that's how I get into PayPal, is through my blog. Yeah, which I think Pritesh will ask me about this later. Uh, so yeah, basically how I got into PayPal is from the blog. That really helped me with my visibility. And actually, the recruiter saw my blog first, and that's how she contacted me for an interview. Yeah.
Okay. So very
Yeah, I'll
as
stop here. I think I was too long. Yeah.
no, as you said, like I had a question on how you got into PayPal. We'll discuss this again later, but a really detailed explanation of your journey. I loved whatever you said, the way you said. Um, so my follow-up question would be, so you said you did 4 years into finance, and alongside you were learning JavaScript also, right? So, how hard it was to take a decision that after doing 4 years and getting a degree, and then you think like this is not something that you want to do for future, but you did to switch the career and stuff. So how hard it was, and what are the thoughts at that time?
I would say at that time, yes, it was difficult because it feels like you have to start over. It feels like you have to go back to level zero. And that is a hard decision to make. I wouldn't say that I make that decisions like, just in one day. Like I really thought hard about it. I would say for a few months, like I was going in back and forth, asking a lot of people around me, asking my friends, my family for their opinion. So yeah, like you said, it's not an easy decision. It's definitely hard. But at the end of the day, I think I look back on what I really want to do and what I can see myself doing and what I'm passionate about. So going back to my roots of just loving to build things and just loving to program and code, I think that is how I made my final decision, is that this is something that I want to try. And I felt I would regret it if I don't try. So yeah, that's how I end up choosing this path.
Understood. So what was your parents' reaction on this when you said like I don't wanna go with finance?
Yeah, so actually, I think I've mentioned this somewhere on my blog before that yes, because my parents are quite traditional, they don't really support like women going into programming. But in the end, I don't face a lot of backlash from them because I found the job first and then I tell them. So that is a trick for those who have like strict, maybe conservative parents. You do the action first and then tell them. So it's more like I'm informing them, hey, I pivoted to tech and here's my new job at tech, versus saying like, can I go into tech, and then definitely you'll hear opposition from them. So that's how I kind of do it. And so yeah, it was quite a smooth process, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay, that was a smart move, I would say. Uh, so I want to understand, like you said, like you spent some good amount of time in getting the free code camp certifications and understanding different things about, and different languages and stuff. So, which was your first job and how did you land it there in
So
tech?
okay, yeah. So my first job, like my first programming job, would be actually a freelance job. So before I got into PayPal, I took on various freelancing jobs as a programmer. So I would start with very simple web development projects. So as someone without any background or any practice in JavaScript, first I built a lot of projects by myself. And then once I feel like I'm ready, I go out and I reach to local businesses if they want like maybe revamp their website or they want a new website. So yeah, I actually from there I got a lot of programming experience even more, which actually helped me find build upon my knowledge as well as find this current job. So yeah, I would say for anyone who's looking to maybe build their portfolio or even get into like a tech company, it's always about the projects, right? They see you, if you can code, then that's experience. So I did that in order to build experience and in order to build my confidence in coding and also to build my portfolio. So yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah, understood. Cool, cool. So I want to ask you this question that was the finance degree that you did, all the finance stuff you learned for like 4 years, is it was it helpful or it was a waste? Waste would be a bad word, but I just wanted to ask this.
Yeah, sure. I think a lot of people have asked me this as well because they wonder if it's really all like the 4 years that I took, is it all gone to waste? And I would say not at all. Anything that you learn from your experience, it will contribute to who you are as a person, and that knowledge that you can take with you, you can actually translate it and like you can find value in it to any other industries you go to. So for me personally, for finance, see, right now I'm in PayPal, which is a fintech company. It really helps a lot. So yeah, I'm lucky in that sense that I get into a fintech company. But even if I don't get into a fintech company, let's say I get into like a very just tech company or even just a manufacturing company with maybe some tech needed, I would still find value from it, because from finance, what I learned is learning how to be solid in foundations and applying that knowledge. Finance alone is just, if you go to like a typical finance classroom, they'll teach you the theory, but you still have to learn how to apply it by yourself, like practicing it. So that's what finance have taught me, that actually translates to my journey in tech. Was able to learn the theory and apply it quickly because I have been trained in the finance space, that it's the same way of learning, which is learning by doing. So yeah, I think that has helped me a lot. And finance is also quite logic based, which actually helps me when I'm learning how to code. Everything's logical. So yeah, it's really about understanding the concepts and foundations, which again, when you find value in two seemingly unrelated industries, you actually learn that there's actually a lot of parallel between them and you can transfer those skills. So yeah, that's what I would say for finance.
Yeah, really great answer on this. Like, finance and coding both has a base, which is a logical reasoning. Not logical reasoning, but yeah, they both works on logic. And as you said, you have to play with numbers in finance. I don't know much of it, but just telling you. And indeed, any experience that you have in any of the field will never go in waste if you have done it with all your heart. uh, is what I think also, because me being from mechanical background, it I still don't regret spending all the 4 years that I did during my college. Yeah, awesome. Next is Victoria, that how did you thought of getting into technical writing? Like what came in your mind that, hey, let me write a blog on this today? So what was your first touch point on technical writing?
Yeah, that's a good question, Pritesh. So, actually, I started blogging mainly for myself because I was learning how to code and I just want like an online journal to log my learnings. I was doing the 100 days of code challenge, and that was when I started my blog. I keep writing every day, day 1 to day 100, and that's when I realized that, hey, actually, I'm just not writing for myself, but a lot of people also find value in what I write, and they learn a lot from me sharing my learnings and what I did wrong and my challenges. So I find that quite rewarding, actually, more than I imagine. I think that when you contribute to a community, you do feel rewarded in some way. And that was the time where I become more engaged in social media. I was never really a social media person, so I started this Twitter account even just to at first promote my blog. And so, after engaging with the community and interacting with my readers through my blog, I do realize that technical blogging is what keep me accountable in a way for reinforcing my learnings. And also, when you teach someone like the knowledge that you want to share, you're actually retaining more for yourself. So it's also a good way to teach yourself, teach others. You end up learning better and more in depth as well. So I think that's how blogging helped me and helped the community. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree with all the points that you said, that when you write, when you teach someone something, you learn more, because you have to be you have to learn things first to teach someone something, and then that's the in that process you learn a lot, uh, is what I also agree with. I So till now you have written like a good number of technical blogs and stuff, right? So my question to you is, uh, now when you write about something, how do you decide on what blog to write on, and what is the thought process behind choosing the topic, and after what, how do you research about that, and how do you, manage writing the entire blog?
Sure. Yeah. So I think a lot of people, especially those who have kept writing blogs for a long time, they always wonder where do these ideas come from, because it's hard to consistently put out articles when you're not, you don't know what to write about. So for me, I usually like to share anything that I'm into at the moment, but I try to keep it within my niche of readers. So for example, my blog is mainly on web development and web development technologies. So I try to keep it as, JavaScript as possible. I'm also a Python programmer, but I rarely would write blogs on Python because I don't think that's where my readers are mostly based on. Like most of my readers, they would be web developers. So I try to keep it within that general niche. But I would keep myself flexible. So I'm open to different kinds of topics so that my blog is like, in a way, my personal representation. So it shows you like basically a mind map of like my current headspace. Like for example, if right now I'm into learning React hooks or something like that, I'll start a React hooks series, which actually I did, and a lot of people love the series. So that's how I kind of get my ideas from, especially on topics which I think a lot of people would find value on, like GraphQL or React hooks, as I mentioned before, that I could make into a series. And as you know, a series would be infinite number of articles. So yeah, I would have infinite amount of ideas to write, and that's how I managed to get my ideas. In terms of research, basically most of these technologies or these new topics that I discovered and want to write about, it's usually something that I'm doing currently in my job and I'm learning day to day. And that's why my research is from personal experience as well as like building my projects by learning. So I always learn by building side projects, right? I think in the world of programming, you have to learn by doing, and just plainly reading will not get you far or anywhere. So that's why I always encourage my readers. Usually, most of my articles, if you notice, is always there's always some kind of example. There's always some kind of practical side project that you can build with me. I would have like a step by step explanation how you can build things. So yeah, that's just basically me teaching my readers what I've learned and what I've tried, and it works for me. So I try to teach them the technology the same way I learned. So that's how I do my research, as well as consulting the documentation, the GitHub, the other sources as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Uh, so my next question on this is, what is the best compliment that you got till now on any of your technical blogs?
Ooh, wow. This one is an interesting question. Best compliment. I think it would be that this blog is very special. So what I mean by special is that basically one of my readers sent me a very long email how they find it's not like just a normal technical blog you see on Hacker News or you see on Twitter that's circulating around. But when they come into my blog, basically this reader in particular, he told me that this blog just is just very human. So sometimes I would also share, like, because I read a lot of books, sometimes I would like to share with my readers, my key takeaways from certain books that I would find useful for them. And they said, this is what makes my blog interesting and special, is that it feels like they're reading me. They're not reading just another tech blog, like an unknown tech blog, or they're not just coming into my blog just to learn about tech, but they're coming into my blog to learn more about what is Victoria doing right now. So I find it an interesting, but I do take it as a compliment because that means my blog is like my personal brand, which is something that I'm proud of, because technically I do build this blog from scratch and I do build my audience from scratch, and I did spend a lot of time just writing, about anything. So yeah, I would say that's a great compliment to have.
Yeah, it is actually, because when uh, I'm also a big fan of your articles, and I also felt the same vibe. Like when I read an article which article itself speaks something on behalf of an author, then that's what you are expecting from an article. If it is just a plain text, then there are a huge number of documentations already available on the internet, right? So the reason we read blogs is it's written format of a conversation on something with the technologies that we are searching on internet, right? Cool. So my next question would be, so you already mentioned that you got your PayPal job with the help of a blog. So my question is, how many blogs you have already written before you got into PayPal, and which was that one blog that got you this opportunity, and what the recruiter was like happy about that particular blog?
Oh, wow. Okay. That's a difficult question because it's not like I counted how many articles I wrote before I got the email, but I can estimate probably I was at around 50, 60 articles when I got the recruiter contacting me. And at the time I was very consistent in putting out articles. So I'll put out in both my Medium as well as my Hashnote blog. I'll put up quite a lot of articles, probably once a week or sometimes even once twice a week. So it was around that time where I was quite frequently publishing, and that's how the recruiter did notice my blog spreading around. And I think one of my articles that did get viral was on React. I can't remember which article it is, but
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
The article that went viral and the recruiter saw it. She don't specifically said she saw me through this article, but she did mention that it was a good article, like one of my React articles. Yeah, so I think it's that one about React. I think it's about a React project that I built or something. Yeah, but that's how she discovered me. Yeah.
Okay, and what did she told you that, hey, Victoria, we loved your article. Then what next?
Basically she told me like, hey, I saw your blog, and basically the fact that you can publish so consistently like this, it speaks a lot about your work ethic. That's what I remember. She told me that it shows that you have good work ethic, that you're disciplined, and that you're punctual and organized. And also, just by reading my blog, she can tell that I have a lot of personality into it, and it just makes her feel like even closer, like, like she can just talk to me. So that's how she mentioned that, I just want to, invite you in for an interview. We can just talk and chat and something like that. Yeah, it makes me more, I guess, from my blog and how the image of my blog portrays, it looks approachable. Yeah, and of course, I left my contact details there so she can easily reach out to me, and that's how she decided to approach me. Yeah.
All right. And after that, did you got into some interviews or something with people?
Yeah, so after that, I spoke with her and I told her, yeah, we can go in for an interview. So basically, for PayPal, there are 4 rounds. The first 2 rounds will be technical interview. So there is, of course, like coding questions, JavaScript questions, a bit of data and structure and algorithms questions. Then after that, the next 2 rounds. So if you pass the first 2 rounds of technical, you'll move on to the next 2 rounds, which are behavioral, and they'll just ask you about your background and some situational questions on that. Yeah.
All right. And after like you cleared all the interviews obviously and then got into paper, right? So my question to you is h- how was the overall interview like I believe this was your one of the first interviews at some company or something, right? Or did you already apply to you started applying or things?
Yeah, I actually started applying before PayPal reached out to me. I did have a few experience in other companies, so I was already in the midst of studying data structures and algorithms during that time, and I got a lot of practice from other previous companies that I've interviewed in. So PayPal was basically not my first. At the time, I was already experienced enough to be able to answer all the technical questions. Yeah.
All right, fair enough. And did you had a choice in your hand after clearing all the interviews that which niche you wanna go in? Like why solution uh, engineer?
Yeah, good question. So, at first, I did mention that I want to be a software engineer, but then they actually told me, I think in the middle of the interview, they say, "Hey, actually, you might be suitable for this other role called solutions engineer." And of course, as someone who was not yet that exposed in the tech industry, I never heard of solutions engineer before, and I asked the interviewer many times, like, "What is solutions engineer? What is the job scope?" And basically I asked them so many questions that they felt like I am interviewing them instead of them interviewing me, because I'm just that curious about that role, and I'm just quite unsure what kind of role it is. So what they told me from my questions is that a solutions engineer is basically a software engineer that is client facing. So it's a software engineer that needs to communicate with people. And because they said, hey, you're from a business background, you must be quite comfortable with talking to people. And I'm like, you sure? But at the end of the day, I thought that, hey, this is something that I could do, because I do like to, meet new people. I do like to talk, and I feel like communication is a skill that I'm willing to work on, especially in the early stage of my career. So I thought it's great to try something new. So solutions engineer, which is like 50% coding, 50% communication, and managing stakeholders and all that. So yeah, in the end I do find that I have made the right decision because I've been in PayPal almost 2 years now, and I would say it's been a rewarding role, and it's something that I've learned a lot for these past years. Yeah.
Awesome. And what is the best part of your work at as a solution engineer at PayPal?
Yeah, so this one I can proudly say that being a solutions engineer, the most rewarding thing is that you are directly working with the end-to-end customer. So unlike a normal solutions, I mean, unlike a normal software engineer, you will never meet the customer, especially in a big tech giant. You will never be able to ask the customer and like receive feedback directly from them about the products. But what I love being a solutions engineer is that you actually communicate directly to the customers. You can think from their perspectives better. You get to understand their business needs, their technical requirements better, and at the same time you get to be the problem solver in this situation. They will look to you as the technical consultant, as the engineer that can help them find the best solution for their needs. So I think being able to do that as well as like use my programming knowledge, I think that's the best of both worlds for me. So that's what I find most rewarding.
Understood. And I believe like this, many of the companies don't have this kind of roles, and uh, this kind of role actually will help an organization to make their product better in many ways. And uh, I guess people are adopting this now, and everywhere, like even in roles like consulting, they expect a basic knowledge of coding, like something similar to SQL or something is what I know till now. But yeah, it's like the solution engineer, like I've heard this for the first time from your profile only. Then I googled around and then I asked you also what it is, and now you already spoken about in like what exactly solution engineer is in detail. So uh, the people who want to become one, you can start preparing and also you can reach out to Victoria in case you want any help on that. Cool. So again, I want to ask you this not a cliche, but I guess many people have already must have already asked you this question, and I also want to ask this question to you. The question is, what are the perks of working at PayPal?
I don't know how detailed I should be, but I think the perks is work-life balance. That's a huge thing. So PayPal always scores super high in the work-life balance category of the top companies that does that. Yeah, I think that's the only perk you need, to be honest, in any company is work-life balance. We are all living such busy lives. It's important to know how to separate that personal boundary as well as work boundary, especially in the field of tech. It's so easy to get burnt out. You hear stories of all the time where people get burnt out because they just don't have the boundary between work and personal. And I think PayPal is a company that really cares about their employees in that way, in that respect. They always make sure that we take care of our mental health first, and they always promote wellness before anything else. So that's what I would say is the greatest perk. And because of PayPal's culture, work culture, I was able to do so many things besides just being a solutions engineer. As I mentioned before in my introduction, I'm both a solutions engineer as well as a tech blogger, GitHub star, woman who code. So I am able to do all this because my company has empowered me to do so. There was also a recent event that I did in collaboration with PayPal as a representative of Women Who Code. So I'm able to take the organization that I volunteer for, and I'm able to even have a collaboration with PayPal on that, which is I think is really cool, and not a lot of companies would you can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great answer, I would say, Victoria, because I've seen people answering, remuneration as one of the first points, that you get a good pay and then everything else. But you mentioned the work-life balance, which should be a topmost priority of any working professional, is what I also think now. So yes, with that, since we are talking about work-life balance and everything, I would like to ask you that. Uh, what since you've been, you already mentioned like you did a lot of hard work, right? Like doing free code camp courses for this long, not everyone can do that. There's a lot of thing, staying consistent, and attending all those long lectures and stuff. It's very hard, I would say. And you made a good number of certificates out of it, and also you were determined enough to complete them, and write a technical articles after that. So my question is, can you share some productivity tips for any working professionals in the world, in any job role in tech?
Sure. So actually, uh, I could even talk for a whole hour about productivity, but due to the lack of time, um, I think I can basically just shorten it. So I do have an article just going to shamelessly plug in here. It's called the scientific tips to productivity. I think I have write an article on that. So basically, in terms of productivity is and consistency, I think it's always about setting goals and making time for it. So I have a lot of readers, like a lot who contacted me and reached out to me and asked me how can they stay consistent in writing. And the thing about with most people is that we overthink. Like we try to, probably before we start writing, we want to make our space super clean. We want to like get our drinks ready. We want to get our lights. Like we try to optimize everything, and we overthink everything that then we forgot to do the action. So sometimes I could just want to write, and then I would start writing endlessly, but I don't think that would be a consistent way to do so. As with most people, uh, the main thing to do is to actually set aside time. So let's say you have a writing ritual. Every 9 p.m. you'll start writing, then I would make it a promise that I would start writing every 9 p.m. without fail. So that is something that I would say I find consistent among many bloggers that I know. So one of my good friends, Chris Bongers, he's a amazing blogger who can write and put out articles every single day without fail for like more than 365 days. And the secret how he does that is because he has a ritual where every morning he would wake up and that is his blogging time. So I find that consistent with any top bloggers that I've seen. They would have a blogging time, and I do realize so do I. Like my blogging time is a certain time, so basically make time for it. That's the secret to being consistent. And then second, how to be productive is it's always about quality, right? Not quantity. I've seen people who read like programming books for many years, but they are unable to make a simple app. So in terms of programming, like for example, since we're all in tech, in terms of programming, I would say the best way to learn is learn by doing. So instead of watching YouTube videos, tutorials over and over again, just bring out, pull up your favorite VS Code editor, Atom or anything, your favorite code editor, pull it up and start writing the code yourself. I think that's the main thing that many people, especially a lot of my readers who are new and just started their coding journeys, they have trouble doing that because I understand when you're new, you don't have a lot of confidence, right? You scared that the code might break. You hate to debug and all that. But if you never take this first step to code, then how can you be a coder? So that's what I told all my readers that they should just start doing. So even in terms of like maybe they want to start a blog, then they should just start doing. So stop overthinking and just do it now. Yeah, I would say that's how I always try to do, and that's always my mindset when I'm going in. Yeah.
That's actually a great tip, Victoria. Like it's not just about coding, it's anything in life. If you want to do it, you just have to do it. You can't just think. And if you start thinking it, you'll keep thinking, and you'll keep thinking, and you'll keep thinking, until unless you take an action on it. It's just a thought that you have had in a mind.
Yeah, so like Pritesh, you wanted to do humans of tech and you just did it, right? So yeah,
Exactly.
that's how you're supposed to do it. Yeah, you're not supposed to overthink. Oh, who will join my space, or what should I, what kind of people should I invite? I mean, of course you can think about that, but before all that, you can you can just start first, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. True. All right. So since you already told about GitHub Star, right? So I have two questions for you on this. First is, how did you got this opportunity? And second is, if suppose I want to become a GitHub Star in near future, uh, how do I have to start, and what are the criteria that we need to match in order to become one?
Yeah, so actually, some people have asked me this also before. And the short answer is that it's really just about community contribution. So they basically look at what you have done in the past year and they evaluate from there. Again, I don't know their specifics, like what is the criteria, since they themselves never revealed it. But how I got it, at least in my case, is that I have two nominations. So they are all anonymous nominations. I don't know who nominate, but whoever it is, I'm very, very grateful. Basically, they nominate me as a community contributor. Every year there will be like some kind of nominations, and they would like review the nominations and validate if this person is really a community contributor. So I remember I got the email back in 2021. I got the email saying that, hey, you've been nominated, congratulations. And that alone made me really proud because it shows that whatever I'm doing, I was on the right track and I was really providing value to my readers, which I'm always aiming for. And I'm really glad to receive this nomination. So that was 2021. And I didn't get the award, unfortunately, but I was still just as proud. So I did mention it on my socials. Hey, I got nominated. Whoever nominated me, thank you so much. And then the next year, I got another nomination. So the next year is 2022 where I got another nomination, and then that was the year where I got this award. So I think by the time it was 2022, I somehow fit the criteria. So once again, I don't know their specifics since they don't reveal their own the criteria, but yeah, I think basically in order to be one, you don't have to aim to be one. I don't know if that makes sense. But basically, you just have to keep doing what you like, providing value to the community, really loving what you do, and creating the content that you love. And naturally, it'll come to you, right? I would say that's consistent among all the GitHub stars I know. They don't start like, start a podcast or start a blog for the sake of being a GitHub star, right? They do it because they love to do it and they love providing value to the community, and that's how they got it. Yeah.
All right. And when you say community contribution, what type of contribution it was? Was it an open source or what?
Yeah, so basically they look at everything, right? Any type of community contributions like podcasts, blogs, hackathon, mentoring, open source contribution. So any type of contribution that you do for the for the community and they recognize that it's of value, then I think that would count. Yeah.
Okay, it's not the GitHub commits and that graph that you get, green one. It's
No, it
going.
doesn't have to be exactly GitHub related. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Like GitHub is not uh, stopping any individual on the basis of their tool. It's just an overall tech contribution that they do for community, right?
Yeah, of course, because this award is for them to basically recognize individuals who contribute to the tech community in general. Uh, yeah, so that's why.
Understood. Understood. And since we are talking about GitHub Star now, uh, how did this woman who codes came to your life? What was the journey and how it is going right now?
Yeah, so I became a woman who code leader this year, February actually. So right now I'm a woman who code Singapore leader. So Women Who Code is a non-for-profit organization that empowers women in the tech community, and it has basically very like it is active in many different networks across the globe. So I'm basically just in one network called Singapore because I'm based in Singapore right now. Yeah, so my journey of becoming a woman who codes Singapore leader was through GitHub Star actually. It's where I met one of my connections who she worked at GitHub as a staff engineer. And so she was the one who introduced me to the role. So yeah, and that's how I got into the role. So I think this is the typical story of a chain reaction. When you find opportunities, more opportunities will come. So at the time, I wasn't sure if I could commit to becoming a Woman Who Code Singapore leader, because I know it'll take a lot of time from my schedule, and I know that I'll have less time for blogging. But I decided to join and become a Woman Who Code Singapore leader because I wanted to contribute in a more local environment. I've been contributing a lot, like through my blogs, and that is like really huge. And I never get to really meet my readers in person, even though um, I am really grateful for them and everything. But becoming a Woman Who Code Singapore leader, it allows me to actually meet the people face to face, right? Because I would be organizing events, I would be like volunteering and helping people who I can like be very close to. And so I think I kind of want more of that personal community that I can like really meet face to face, and that's why I decided to join. And Pritesh, you asked me how is it so far. I would say it's been super rewarding. It's one of the best decisions I could say that I made in 2023, because not only get that I get to organize events for women in tech and for people like my community that I really care about, but I get to meet many different people across the areas of tech, not just in solutions engineering, but in data science, in machine learning, IoT. I get to explore the different area of tech that my day job would not allow me to. I think it's really cool. It's super fascinating, and it's super rewarding as well. So I really liked it.
Great to hear that from you, Victoria. Like being part of an offline community and organizing events on behalf of any community is the best place where you network with people, right? That's the best time that you have because you wanted to be there for a reason. You wanted to be around the people like you, right? That's the place where like-minded people interact and uh, get opportunities and give opportunities to the people. If you are someone in some city of some location in the on the globe, if you see that there is some tech community, a tech conference going on, and if you just join it, right? Like you don't have to speak, you don't have to be do like you don't have to do anything. You just have to go and meet people, ask them what they do. Many of the people are getting jobs with the help of these because this is how you start networking. Online networking, LinkedIn, you already have, but the power of offline is you can't even imagine. If you start, you'll understand what it is, right? Uh,
Yeah, definitely.
exactly. Awesome. So with that, I would like to ask the final question to you for the evening. Meanwhile, any of the listeners want to ask any questions, can drop the question in the chat and we'll take that question after this. So my question to you is again this is the question that many people must have already asked you, but I also want to ask you. The question is if I being from a non-technical background or anyone from non-technical background who knows nothing about coding, all he has or she has is a determination to get into tech and that passion, right? That anyone who is into tech and the passion to uh, start the journey of getting into tech and getting job into a good organization. So how what is the idea, not an ideal roadmap, it is like uh, it differs from person to person, but what would be the first initial steps one should take in order to keep that journey simple and straightforward?
Yeah, so this is something I would probably tell myself if I can, go back a few years. Is basically join a community. So we talked about communities earlier, right? And I think a lot of people underestimate it, and they think they are lone wolves and they can learn everything by themselves. But actually, joining a community really helps you just not only with your motivation, but with also your learning. Because again, if you're sharing your knowledge with people around you, you're actually retaining and reinforcing your knowledge even further. And conversations that I talk with, like my tech friends, sometimes great ideas pop up from there. Like I join a few hackathons, whenever I'm free. And all these hackathon ideas would came from like just random conversations with people in the community. So again, communities actually give you a lot of creative space as well as the motivation to get started. And in terms of, I think Pritesh, you mentioned about passion. There's a difference between passion and discipline. That's what I believe in. So you can start being passionate, but without discipline, then you won't last long. Your fuel would run out pretty fast. So you need to make sure that even if you have passion, even if it runs out, you still have the discipline to continue. I would say that's something that I struggled with, especially during my time just learning how to code. I think I struggle with imposter syndrome because I think that even no matter how much time I put into this, I thought I would never be as good as those who actually got a formal education in CS. So I keep comparing myself to those people. And again, it's discouraging sometimes that passion alone will not help you get through that mental space. So again, you need that discipline. So going back to what I mentioned before, always allocating the time to do your learning, to practice the coding. I always allocate time to do so, and having that discipline helps me get through to it. So even when I'm really not motivated because I feel so, like an imposter, I already promised myself, hey, I would be coding at this time. So I would still code. And that's actually a good practice to keep, and being consistent, to be consistent in your learning. So that is what I would tell myself if, I could go back a few years.
Yeah, lovely answer, Victoria. Like, passion is just, your 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 feeling that I want to do this, right? And if you are not disciplined enough, it's like passion is like it comes and goes. Discipline is what keeps you going, right? Uh, And since you mentioned about hackathons, I could have asked you this question. I don't know why I don't have that on my list because my first touch point with Victoria was hackathon only. So I she was one of the judge in one of the hackathons by Showcase, and that's where I met Victoria and then read about her and then here. So I wanted to ask her hackathon journey as well. Like how many hackathons you've done, how many you won, and what things you learn from hackathon, and why one should join a hackathon.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, thanks Pritesh for bringing up the hackathon. So yeah, in case for people who don't know, Pritesh, he built a really cool project for the showcase hackathon, which I was a judge at. And actually, Pritesh, now that we're in this space, I can just tell you that your project really blew me away. It was definitely my favorite project. I'm not showing favoritism right now, but it's my favorite project. Um, so yeah, I think, see, this is the thing with hackathons, right? It gives you the exposure. See, if it weren't for you joining this hackathon, we might never met and connected, and then this space would never happen. So that is one reason to join a hackathon is, it allows you to build your network and meet new people and also learn from each other. And I think another reason of joining a hackathon is it really builds upon your skills. So for example, if you're someone like me who's like still learning and like trying to build some projects, it's always better to learn how to build projects with different people, right? Because when you're in a tech job, you'll be in a group of different people, so you need to learn how to program not alone but with a lot of people. That's also something that I learned through hackathons is learning how to communicate with other developers. So not just learning by yourself, building projects by yourself, but with people. So that's another point of why you should join hackathons. Next is, I guess, just being able to build a portfolio, right? So if you're someone who's looking for a job in tech and you are looking for, to build like some side projects to expand your portfolio, then why not join a hackathon? Because, it gives you all the other benefits that I've talked about. And at the same time, you will get an additional project into your portfolio. So yeah, and usually hackathons will have themes or it will have like a new technology that you're supposed to incorporate in the hackathon. So that's also an opportunity for you to learn like how to maybe integrate this new API or use this new technology. So again, there's never a I don't see a reason why you should not join a hackathon. In fact, it's harder to justify that than joining a hackathon. And then Pritesh asked me how many hackathons I've joined. I would say I've joined too much that I cannot count how many I've joined, but I've joined a lot, and I joined even way back before COVID. So it was when it was in physical, like in a physical location, and you have to camp there for like 48 hours. So yeah, I remember bringing my sleeping bag over, but in the end I only slept for 2 hours in like the whole 48-hour hackathon. So yeah, those were the fun times. But then after COVID, a lot of the hackathons become remote, and even during then I still continue to join a lot of hackathons just to expand my learning and meeting new people and collaborating with new people. So yeah, I've joined too much hackathons. I couldn't count, but I don't know, 30, 40. Yeah, I don't know how many. But in terms of winning, I think in every hackathon I learn something. So I don't see it as like, oh, I joined this hackathon, I have to win something. It's more like I know in every hackathon I would learn something new. So uh, I did win a few, I would say, some with like decent monetary amount, but it doesn't really matter to me because again, I joined the hackathon not with the purpose on winning money or anything like that. I joined it with the mindset of, I came here to learn something. And every hackathon I would learn something like communication skills or like time management, like how to schedule the project on time, because usually some of these hackathons are really short, like 48 hours, and some would be like 6 months long. So understanding how to organize your time around it and scheduling, meetings with people that are like across the globe, like maybe in a different time zone, that's a really helpful skill that I learned through my hackathon experiences. um, and I guess another thing that hackathons have taught me is how to think from the user's perspective. Because usually hackathons, they would have like a theme, and they would tell you, we want you to meet this certain requirements. And I would say as software engineers, if you're not used to like meeting clients and figure out what requirements they want, you would just like to add whatever features that you think is cool and you think like, oh, this really would show them my skills and all that, which is a lot of the pitfalls that new hackathon goers would fall into. But those with more experience would know that they just have to fulfill the requirements that the judges want to look at. So they will look at the criteria that the judges is looking for, and they would build according to that. So understanding how to meet requirements is something that I learned from it. And it actually surprisingly translates very much into my current job right now, which is figuring out your client's requirements and building products around that. So yeah, actually everything that I've learned from hackathons, actually it is really helpful for me.
Oh, very comprehensive answer, Victoria. You explained everything like about hackathon, why hackathon, and stuff like that. And again, it's again not about the monetary benefits. Uh, it is, but it's not the only thing. Go with the mindset of learning and stuff, as Victoria already mentioned. Uh, and with that, I would say, uh, I I just wanted to put it here like this. I I'm right now super proud to be around people like Victoria and to be people who are like who have that mindset and that fire in the belly to do something, to learn something. And but I get super inspired if like people ask me as a person, or people ask any of you like how you get inspired. We inspired by people like Victoria and people like uh, the other speakers that I'm gonna invite on the space. This type of people are you know inspired you as an individual, and Victoria is one of the person. So if you are like lazy or someday, or if you are not getting motivation to do anything, go ahead and read the description of the hash note description of Victoria and any of the blogs of Victoria, and also a YouTube channel. If you are stuck with like technical writing, she already has a lot of videos on how to start technical writing and stuff. So I haven't included those questions here because she already has a lot of content already on the internet related to those things. So any final note, Victoria, on your end, or to end the space?
Sure. So yeah, Pritesh, like how you mentioned, like people around you inspire you. I would say you're also a really huge inspiration, and thanks a lot for just being able to start this Humans of Tech. I think a lot of people need to know what is behind the scenes of all the people who are in tech. Like just humanize the code, right? If you spend a lot of time with code, like from 9 to 5, it just feels dehumanizing sometimes. You just feel like it's a machine, like we're just a bunch of machines, but you created this Humans of Tech, which I find it really super inspiring. And that's why I immediately said yes when you invite me to this. I think it's a really good cause, and you have a great mission right now. And um, yeah, I think thank you for everyone who come to listen, and I really hope those also who listen in YouTube would find this valuable. Yeah, I would say I'm not like anyone special or anyone that like I'm lucky or anything, but it's more like you just gotta be yourself and choose the path that you want. And I guess this is my path. So yeah, my last words for you is good luck with whatever you are doing. And again, health is more important than anything, so make sure you have good mental health, good physical health. Like I just came back from the gym and all that, so yeah, make sure your health is number one, and your passion. And if you love to code, then your passion is number two. Yeah. So thanks everyone for listening. Yeah, I'm really happy to have joined the space.
Thank you so much, Victoria, for being on the space. And with that, we'll end the space, the episode 2 of Humans of Tech, from blogging to people with Victoria.